All right, it's time for round 2 of the GoPro Hero 11 versus the DJI Osmo Action 3. It's also time to start cleaning up the office. All right, so you may be wondering, why do we need a round 2 of this comparison? Well, mainly that's because when I compare these two, it's mainly just for the image quality, and that was before the firmware update of the DJI Osmo Action 3 that gave it 10-bit footage. So now I'm going to compare if that upgrade was again enough to make these two cameras closer when it comes to image quality. Also, I'm going to test other things and compare them, the features that you might be interested in these two cameras. Let's go. All right, so let's start with image quality with these two cameras. Yeah, let's start with 4K 30 and probably walk outside. And I'm going to switch to the internal microphones of these two cameras. The GoPro is on my right and the DJI Osmo Action 3 is on my left. Both of them are on auto ISO with max at 200. So I don't know if they're using 100 now or 200. But yeah, going to the front. Ooh, son. Both cameras are shooting on 30 frames per second. The GoPro on my right is at 5.3K. The DJI Osmo Action 3 is on 4K. Both have their stabilization on, hyper smooth and rock steady. How's the footage? I can see from the screen they have different colors. The Action 3 has a warmer tone than the GoPro, and of course the biggest question always is, how's the focus of at least the Action 3? GoPro, there's no doubt focus is fixed, but the Osmo Action 3, very controversial. How is it? Also, right now I am shooting 10-bit on the GoPro and only 8-bit on the Osmo Action because of its normal color profile. Let me go into 10-bit D-Cine-like with the Osmo Action 3. Alright, so I'm now in D-Cine-like here in the Osmo Action 3, and no change in the GoPro. It was on 10-bit already before. So is there a shift in quality when it comes to 10-bit of the Osmo Action 3? Let's get a bit of the sky. Wait, you see the sky there? How's the dynamic range? Just based on these screens, the dynamic range is better on the GoPro than the Osmo Action 3. I don't know if it's still the same when it comes to the computer. How about that? Against the light, there's a motorcycle. So yeah, how's the image? Alright, so there you saw it, the image quality test of the DJI Osmo Action 3 and the GoPro Hero 11. Now, for me, honestly, I would still go for the GoPro Hero 11. Reason later, but the DJI Osmo Action 3, I would say, is not a bad camera, especially with the firmware update wherein it added 10-bit in a log format, the D-Cine-like format picture profile of the camera, and they also added the enhanced image quality feature of the DJI Osmo Action 3 in the normal color profile. Now let's address the biggest issue of this camera for months now, and it is the out of focus issue. I don't think my unit is out of focus when I analyze my footage. I think it is closer to the images that or the footages that I see from people who claim that they have fixed units rather than those who have out of focus units on the internet. And I know a lot of people who don't really necessarily like the over sharpened image of the GoPro Hero 11. Having said that, if that is what you prefer, a sharper image, then you definitely go with the GoPro Hero 11 over the DJI Osmo Action 3, because this camera, the Osmo Action 3, has a softer image than the GoPro. To be honest, until now, I don't know which of these two cameras I will keep, but I am leaning more towards the GoPro Hero 11 just because I can match it better with my Sony A7S III, which I am using right now. But for regular casual users, especially if you're going to have these action cameras as your only camera, I don't think you can go wrong even if you buy the Osmo Action 3. So for image quality, for me, the GoPro Hero 11 still wins. Now, I recorded 120 frames per second just to see how capable these cameras are in slow motion. All right, so that's a test. You be the judge which you prefer or which you think has better image in slow motion. Now, I also test the stabilization of these two cameras, but to be honest, I don't think there's a clear winner. Stabilization on these cameras are both amazing. So here's the test. Now, one more comparison request that I get a lot is the field of view. So I tested all of the fields of view of these two cameras. So take a look. Field of view test. This is standard UARP on the Action 3 and linear on the GoPro Hero 11. Now we are on wide on both cameras. Both cameras are having this kind of fisheye effect already, but the GoPro really has a heavy fisheye effect from what I can see on the small screens. Now we are on ultra wide on the Osmo Action 3 and super view on the GoPro Hero 11. How does it compare to each other? So far on all tests, the DJI has wider field of view, and I can see that the GoPro has really heavy fisheye effects. Now, this is the widest the Action 3 can go, and the GoPro has one more lens or field of view. Let's go to that. So the DJI Osmo Action 3 is still in ultra wide, and the GoPro Hero 11 is in, what is it called? Ultra view? Hyper view. Yeah. Previous was super view, this is hyper view. Again, how does it look like? Really look at the bamboo. It's almost like going to be a sea. So yeah, those are the field of views that are available on these two cameras. Now, as you can see, in general, the DJI Osmo Action 3 has a wider field of view than the GoPro Hero 11, even in the hyper view, which is the fourth field of view of the GoPro Hero 11. Also, the GoPro, I think, has a stronger fisheye effect than the DJI Osmo Action 3. So when I use my GoPro, I tend to, stick with linear because I don't really like the fisheye effect of these action cameras. All right, so now let's go to other things or other features of these two cameras that I like and dislike. So one of the advantages for me of the DJI Action 3 is its mounting system. The DJI Osmo Action 3 utilizes this magnetic mount which connects to like selfie sticks or tripods the same way traditional action cameras like the GoPro does, with this like thumb screw, but then the camera itself attaches to this magnetic mount via, you guessed it right, magnets like that. And if you want to take it out, just clip and take it out. Now, right now, I am using the included cage with the Osmo Action 3, and what this does is it gives you the ability to mount this camera vertically for your Instagram Reels, TikTok videos, and YouTube Shorts. And if you want to go back to the horizontal orientation, it's as quick as what we did earlier, just there. Now for the GoPro, it still uses the traditional way of mounting it with these two holes, wherein you get again the thumb screw and attach it to whatever mount you want it to attach to. Another thing I like better on the DJI Osmo Action 3 is its battery life. Now, I haven't done any, scientific tests of the batteries, but whenever I use both of these cameras for testing and I start at 100% for both cameras, usually when I'm already at, let's say, 35% on the GoPro Hero 11, I still have around 65% on the DJI Osmo Action 3. Now, there can be so many factors attached to this. Maybe it's not just the battery itself, maybe it's the processing power, but in real world situations, you'll get more out of the battery of the Osmo Action 3. Another advantage of the DJI Osmo Action 3 is its price. Now, what I bought for myself is the standard combo of the GoPro Hero 11, which is the camera, the thumb screw, and this mount. And that cost me 29,000 something pesos. And for the DJI Osmo Action 3, I went with the Adventure combo, which is the more expensive combo, and that cost me around 25,000 pesos. Now, when you compare those, the DJI Osmo Action 3 is cheaper even with a higher combo. And this combo includes this selfie stick, of course, this mount, and you actually get two, the camera itself, the cage, and this charger with two extra batteries. So that is great value for its price. And if you go with the standard combo of the DJI Action 3, then it costs around 19,000 pesos. That's a 10,000 peso difference with these two cameras. That's why it's so hard for me to decide, because of value-wise, features-wise, I like the DJI Osmo Action 3 better, but for the image quality, I like the GoPro Hero 11 better. But there's another thing that I don't like with the GoPro Hero 11, and it's the freezing issues. Now, I've been watching a lot of creators saying that they've eliminated the freezing bugs of the GoPro Hero 11, and I'm so happy for them because they haven't experienced the freezing bugs in their units. But for me, in my first trip alone, I experienced bugs already. In one, I experienced when I was in the pool, so it was so hard for me to reset it by taking out the battery because I'm in the water. And yes, this is waterproof, but not if you open the battery door. One more thing I like about the Osmo Action 3 over the GoPro Hero 11 is the custom presets. Now, on paper, they both have presets, but for me, the Osmo Action 3 is the only camera between these two that has real custom presets, because you can set both with presets. But in the GoPro Hero 11, let's say you choose the selfie preset and you're at 5.3K 24 frames per second. Once you change the frame rate, let's say just for this shot, I want to use 30 frames per second instead of 24. When you're done, you go to other presets. When you go back to selfie, then it's still at 30, the one you changed it to, not the original one that you set. However, on the Osmo Action 3, whenever you go to different presets, when you select the presets, it's still the preset, or it's the settings that you originally dialed in, even if you change other settings just for one shot. So I think for me, that's the real type of presets that should be in cameras and not the GoPro. And when it comes to ease of use, the DJI Osmo Action 3 for me is better. It's easier to understand, especially if you haven't used any of these cameras. And this is coming from a person who have used GoPro more in the past over DJI cameras. But I guess this can be a little bit subjective, especially if you're a long-time GoPro user. You might find the GoPro easier to use. So there you have it. That's round 2 and probably the last time that I'll be comparing these two cameras. Unless you have some requests, then I probably can create shorts around those specific comparison requests. And that is also if I haven't sold one of these. Right now, again, I'm leaning towards keeping the GoPro just to match better with my A7S III, but I haven't really decided 100% yet, because this is a really good camera. So if you've liked this video, I do hope you try to check out my other videos that you can see here.